from CBS 4 News, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Good morning. I'm Jim DeFede, and welcome to Facing South Florida. Tragedy has once again found its way onto the Rickenbacker Causeway as the third cyclist in recent years was run down and killed this week. Are these accidents preventable? Is the county doing enough to protect cyclists and runners? And can something good come out of this latest heartache? We'll be discussing all these issues with County Commissioner and a prominent local architect who is spearheading an effort to make Miami more bicycle friendly. But first, my colleague Lauren Pastrana has a story behind this latest death.
This is my father, and I love him very much, and he will always be in my heart.
Jennifer Reyes wears her Dolphins Cycling Challenge shirt with pride. It's a tribute to her father, Walter, who was training for the charity ride when he was struck and killed on the Rickenbacker Causeway early Wednesday morning.
I want him to be remembered as a good man who is just trying to do his part.
Police say 40-year-old Henry Hernandez was also badly hurt when the driver of this Volkswagen crashed into him and Reyes. Investigators say 21-year-old Alejandro Alvarez was behind the wheel, heading home from a night at a Miami Beach club. According to his arrest affidavit, Alvarez was driving to his parents' Key Biscayne home at about 5:22 in the morning when he hit the cyclist. The report states he originally left the scene but returned 20 minutes later and told an officer, quote, "It was me. I was the one that was involved in the accident. I was scared and I fled. I drove down to Harbor Drive, parked my vehicle, and called my mother." The cop says Alvarez was hysterically crying. The affidavit goes on to say he even told police he attempted to fake a robbery by smashing the rear window of his Volkswagen with golf clubs. He eventually said he was changing the song on his iPhone and wasn't looking at the road at the time of the crash. Sadly, this isn't the first deadly wreck on that causeway involving cyclists. In 2012, Aaron Cohen was killed on that stretch of road. 2 years earlier, Christophe Lacan lost his life the same way. The cycling community's rally cry for change has only grown louder.
We just need action. Just take some action, and let's argue about the nuances of the plan later. But let's get some lane separation. Let's get this safety thing put in place.
Jennifer Reyes says her parents got her a new bike for Christmas. Perhaps her father's passion runs in the family.
You never realize what you got until all of a sudden they're gone, and it's cliche, but unfortunately very, very true.
Lauren Pastrana, CBS 4 News.
Joining me now is Miami-Dade County Commissioner Xavier Suarez, whose district includes Key Biscayne, and Bernard Zyscovich, who, as you saw in the story, has been outspoken on this issue, demanding a solution. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming in. Let's start with what's readily apparent. Jennifer Reyes, this young girl, has lost her father. First, how incredibly composed she was, just sort of speaking the way she did. It breaks your heart, yet there are so many of these tragedies that can be avoided. Bernard, I want to start with you because you've been very aggressive in trying to deal with this issue. You've warned that this was going to continue to happen. On each of these deaths, you sort of surface as the harbinger of, if we don't fix it now, it's going to happen again, and then it happens again, and back you are. Is this going to finally change something?
Well, you know, it depends on how optimistic we are. Fortunately, we have in the commissioner here a champion to see if we can push this through. Likewise, I've had conversations with the mayor and other commissioners, staff people. I think that there is an energy coalescing right now around the idea that we just can't let this happen again.
And we'll talk about your plan, Plan Z, and let folks know where on the website they can find it and talk more specifics. But just sort of take a step back for a second. When you heard that another cyclist had died on the Rickenbacker, what was your reaction?
It's just beyond belief. To me, there are no words to express how badly I feel. I can actually see the causeway from my apartment on Brickell. I didn't know the ace, Aaron Cohen, but I knew his family. I didn't know Mr. Reyes, but I can see from the young lady, as you said, what a fantastic daughter he had, he has. And as Bernard said, we've got to move. I don't care if we do something temporary. I don't care if people think it's part of the solution. A lot of times when we have a meeting, we have 4 or 5 different ideas: law enforcement, DUIs. We do have a new ordinance or a new statute in place, thanks to the efforts of Commissioner Pepe Diaz from the county and the legislators. That's going to make it a lot tougher for DUI people who drive away from the scene, but we also need a physical separation. It's not going to take care of all the cases because some bikers, some cyclists want to be on the roadway. Okay, but it's going to help a lot with this kind of situation.
Well, Bernard, you're a very well-known, nationally respected architect, and you brought your own skills to bear trying to find a solution, looking at it. Right. It's sort of like, what can I do to help? And I can take my skill set and try to employ it.
Exactly.
Talk to me a little bit about what your idea is and how it might make a difference.
Well, at this point in time, there's really the short range and the long range idea. This started after Aaron Cohen's death with a more comprehensive thought, which is that with an ever-increasing and I might add positive aspect of people wanting to be out in the world, exercising, increasing their level of fitness, basically dealing with all the assets that we have here, the Rickenbacker is not going to go away as a destination for recreational activities. So the thinking was, instead of thinking of it continually as the Rickenbacker Causeway, we should begin to think about it as the Rickenbacker Park. Because when you begin to think about how this roadway has evolved from the initial days for Mackle as a real estate opportunity to what it is today, tying together everything from Wainwright Park, the Seaquarium, Virginia Key, the State Park, the Crandon Park, the tennis center, the new bicycle area, the evolution of the city now wanting to renovate the Marine Stadium. The only piece that doesn't make sense in that whole equation is actually the causeway, because it's still nothing more than a highway. So the thought was, let's take it, and this gets to the key point, that our belief really stems from one fundamental idea, that as soon as you leave the mainland and you go through that toll booth, you have a very wide expanse that becomes 3 lanes. It then goes over the Powell Bridge, becomes 2 lanes. As soon as you're off the bridge, boom, you're back to 3 lanes. Back to 2 lanes at the other bridge, and then you take 2 lanes through Crandon Boulevard. And every time that I've looked at what has happened, it's been clear that it's happening at that point where you're entering the merge or leaving the merge, and it increases the speed.
So I want to just sort of encapsulate it. Your idea would be, rather than have it going back and forth from 3 to 2 to 3 to 2, just make it a consistent 2.
Correct.
And use that extra space not just as gravel, but actually design and to implement something that is beautiful and recognize it, as you say, as a park, not just a highway.
Right, because unfortunately it's tragic no matter who it is that gets hit. But imagine the outrage if this was a mother running with her baby in a stroller. It would be even more than cyclists.
Well, let me ask, okay, Commissioner, sounds like a great idea. Why can't we get it done?
We have to get it done, and we're going to move very quickly this time. I was meeting with Bernard the day after this accident just to get a status report on where we were on his plan.
It had previously been planned.
Yes. Yeah, and we wanted to get a status report. We wanted to see, where the administration was. The mayor had told me that he was very supportive of the plan.
So who has to approve it? Is it the commission? Is it the mayor? Is it the state? Who has to say yes?
At this point, as he has mentioned, there's something very important that has to be done right away, which is that we have to make sure that people understand this is going to be a parkway. This is going to be a park. This is not just a thoroughfare to get to Key Biscayne. We have to reduce the speed limit. I had said that a year ago. Got some resistance, but I'm sorry, I think 35 miles an hour is it. And we're already putting his suggestion of a temporary solution on the agenda. It's on the Transportation Committee, of which I am now a member. I was not until a couple of weeks ago, again. And I spoke to the chairperson to move this thing forward. And yesterday, or rather Friday or Thursday, we had meetings with the staff, and we said we have to identify a funding source, and we're going to go ahead.
I was going to ask about funding.
Yes.
How much will this cost?
Well, down the road, his entire plan will cost a lot more. But for now, a 25-cent additional toll. I want the commission to approve that as quickly as we can get it on the agenda, and let's implement his initial idea, his short-term solution. That's going to cost about $1 million.
So $1 million for the short term, paid for by increasing the toll by 25 cents. And your longer vision, your bigger plan, how much? What are you estimating that with all the effects and the sort of going in and actually designing it more park-like?
Okay, so that's a great question. Let me give you two all-in answers. I know you're an imaginative guy, so I'm going to describe it. If you imagine the lanes going out Rickenbacker in front of this aquarium, we have a whole lot more green space. So if we just simply reduce the lanes and restripe and do all of that, put in landscaping, we're probably somewhere in the $10 million range. If we're, with landscaping and all the bells and whistles. If we take the lanes that are along the waterfront and we push the roadway to the other side of the median toward Rusty Pelican and Marine Stadium, because we have about 100 feet of green, then we can actually increase another 10 acres of waterfront park, and we would add another $5 to $10 million.
Let's hold it there. Let's take a break here. I want to come back, and I want to ask you point blank, is this worth it? Not just for the lives' sake, but, you know, drunk drivers are going to be drunk drivers on the road. I want to pose that question to you as well when we come back right after this break.